11. Odysseus, his descent into hell, and discourses with the ghosts of the deceased heroes. Now, when we had gone down to the ship into the sea, first of all we drew the ship unto the fair salt water, and placed the mast and sails in the black ship, and took those sheep, and put them therein, and ourselves too climbed on board, sorrowing and shedding big tears. And in the wake of our dark prowed ship, she sent a favoring wind that filled the sails. A kindly escort, even Circe of the braided tresses, a dread goddess of human speech. And we set in order all the gear throughout the ship and sat us down. And the wind and the helmsman guided our bark. All day long her sails were stretched in her seafaring, and the sun sank and the ways were darkened. She came to the limits of the world, to the deep-flowing Oceanus. There is the land and the city of the Cimmerians, shrouded in mist and cloud, and never does the shrinking sun look down upon them with his rays. Neither when he climbs up the starry heavens, nor when again he turns earthward from the firmament, but deadly night is outspread over miserable mortals. Thither we came and ran the ship ashore, and took out the sheep. But for our part we held on our way along the stream of Oceanus, till we came to the place which Circe had declared to us. Welcome to Book 11, and welcome back, listeners. If you are a daily listener and you aren't catching up sometime in the future, we are back from hiatus, and boy, oh boy. It feels a little strange that how long do you go in your life with zero mention of the Odyssey? And then I take a 6-week break, and I feel like the Odyssey has been in the conversation for everybody and in various different ways. Obviously, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey was released. Maybe you listened to my first impressions commentary on that already. Maybe you saw the film for yourself. I would love to know what you think. You can always reach out to me at patreon.com/gruntworkpod. But more than that, there's obviously the woke backlash, which I'm not even going to engage with here, that became a conversation piece unto itself. And now there's not one, but two different Odyssey films coming out that are AI generated in response to quote unquote the woke Odyssey. One is going to be created by Grok, and another one, I don't remember the film studio. I don't need to give them any exposure, but we get 3 Odyssey films in a year. I mean, I'm not going to watch the other 2, and I would encourage all of you not to as well. If you are really curious, just watch the trailer and leave it at that. We don't need to give these folks any further exposure or raise their placement in search engines. But we're back, and we're talking about Book 11, a book that deviates pretty significantly from the movie. And I asked early on how we want to maybe navigate a post Nolan's The Odyssey world on this show. It's unavoidable. I think we mostly are just going to keep doing what we do. There's no real reason to fold it into our conversations unless it's appropriate. I don't think it should guide us in any way. It's just an interesting thing that exists that just happens to be recent, but it really is no different than the existing Odyssey films and miniseries that exist already. So I'm not going to constantly be going, well, this is different than the movie, because I don't think anyone really wants that. We're here to engage with the text. We're not here to engage with the movie. However, I will say, while watching the movie, I did have the thought of, oh, I feel like maybe my commentary has been getting a little too silly, maybe a little too subjective, and I need to up my game a bit. So I've decided during the hiatus to develop a new approach to my research, to how I'm going to do the commentary. Well, not how I'm going to do the commentary, but what I'm commenting on. And I'm going to do it, I think, at least I'm going to try it for this chapter. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to look at the book as a whole. The chapters are called books here. So book 11 as a whole, and break up my commentary in a way that will build on itself over the course of the book, to be appropriate to what we're talking about in that book. So let's get started, shall we? As we are picking up from book 10, Circe has told Odysseus and crew how to get to Hades in order to get the information he needs in order to get back home. You need to do this, you need to go here. Basically, as this passage is telling us, take a ship, go past Oceanus, the river that circles the parameter of the world, and be able to enter Hades that way if you sacrifice, this ram and that lamb and that goat and et cetera, et cetera. By consulting the dead, Odysseus will find his way home. This is a personal note. This isn't part of my research, but one thing I'm going to be curious to track, and I don't know the level of intentionality to expect out of something so ancient, but the fact that he has to go to the land of the dead to get information means, more or less, symbolically confronting the past, right? And whether or not that's intended from Homer as a sort of rite of passage. This isn't just a high adventure moment. It's something where Odysseus has to actually make amends or reconcile or whatever it is that ends up transpiring during this book, before he can go home. It's sort of like writing your soul before you transcend to heaven, the afterlife, whatever you subscribe to. And despite the witchery that Circe has done to the men, she is placing all of the sheep inside the ship and giving them a little gentle blow, in the right direction. I just want to give a comment too on my performance of this, where I've been trying to maintain a sort of neutral, um, uh, tone, I guess, when reading this. Because it's not, I'm not trying to do like performance art here. I just want us to be able to experience the story. That said, I don't know if, because this was an oral performance when it was first released, oh my God. Check out Odyssey on Record Store Day. Um, I wonder if there is meant to be some intentional like dread in the performance here. The line toward the end there is the land and the city of the Cimmerians, shrouded in mist and cloud, and never does the shining sun look down on them with his rays. Neither when he climbs up the starry heavens, nor when again he turns earthward from the firmament. You know, is that meant to like evoke a sense of foreboding in the characters, not even us, the audience, but uh I feel like we're losing something by the neutral reading of it. So I just wanted to point that out. I think there are details here that are easy to kind of like glaze over. Um, but the atmosphere is there if you choose to look for it. There is the land and the city of the Cimmerians, shrouded in mist and cloud, and never does the shining sun look down on them with his rays. Neither when he climbs up to the starry heavens, nor when again he turns earthward from the firmament. But deadly night is outspread over the miserable mortals. Thither we came and ran the ship ashore, and took out the sheep. Anyway, you get the point. As I said, I'm not here to do performance art for all of you. There's one other thing I want to mention here, I think, maybe two, that occurred to me finally. Uh, it's so subtle, so as to like not even really announce itself. But let us not forget, Odysseus is telling the story to Alcinous. And I have questioned the reliability of that in the past. I still find that to be an interesting interpretation. But if we just go by what he's saying, the text on the page, I do find it interesting that Odysseus is speaking from a collective experience by saying we. He never says I, unless it's specifically happening to him. The passage starts. Now, when we had gone down to the ship and to the sea, first of all, we drew the ship into the fair salt water. This has been going on the entire story that Odysseus has been telling to Alcinous. And I don't know how to interpret that. I can, apply 2026 psychology to it, but, it's still going to be interpretive. Do you rely on the collective experience as sort of a camaraderie and we're all in it together and I am my crew, like that sort of leadership talk? Or are you using the collective experience to shroud your own responsibility? I think both are kind of interesting things to explore when looking at what Odysseus has been saying. I don't believe he used the collective we when he was talking about the mutinous men opening up the bag of winds that sent them all to hell. So not hell, but, across the globe. I would be curious to reread this story looking for where he separates out the we from the me. This is the only other note I wanted to bring up today. The Butcher and Lang prose translation that we are reading here on the show is the one, as I say at the beginning of every book, has that little intro sentence or two describing what we're going to encounter in the book. So here it says, Odysseus, his descent into hell, and discourses with the ghosts of the deceased heroes. Butcher and Lang have chosen the word hell there. That is not in Homer's original text. To be more accurate, it would be the underworld, Hades, or even very generally the realm of the dead. Hell becomes a much more denominational interpretation of it. But we leave today's passage with them on the shore, disembarking with the sheep in order to begin the ritual to talk to the dead. So join me here tomorrow as we move more into Book 11, and welcome back, daily listeners, to Odyssey, a daily Odyssey through Homer's The Odyssey, and more to come tomorrow. Until then, okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.